I have this exciting update for you. I was looking the other day at the Hanukkah story from a rabbi, and this rabbi so impressed me as he shared the history of Hanukkah, and I realized this is a story for our time. This is like right now. This is making so much sense, and I've heard different spiritual stories because the idea is that the menorah with the seven candles, which represents like the seven spirits of God, spirit of wisdom, the spirit of knowledge, understanding, the fear of the Lord, etc. That the menorah, the candle, had only 1 day's worth of oil, and supernaturally it was sustained for 8 days, and that's why it's 8 days of Hanukkah. And there's always different meanings to it. But I never heard this rabbi's interpretation that it really is so applicable to today, because it was the Jewish people losing their national identity, and it was being subsumed and wiped out by a globalist move that was taking place with the Greek and Syrian empires of their day, wiping out the sovereignty, the tradition, the faith, and the memory of the Jewish people. And it was like, aha, there's something to think about. So there's George Washington looking down upon us, and now Rabbi Area Spiro, and he's on Bannon's War Room. Let's catch it.
You'll find.
I want you to hear the whole thing. I got a transcript. I'll give you this whole story. And so anyway, he's giving some notes about where to get the best of Judeo-Christian history.
Out there, when you're reading what real America's about, this is worth fighting for. The Judeo-Christian ethos doesn't belong necessarily to Jews or Christians. It's a value system. It belongs to anybody who wants to imbibe in it and live by it and have a good, successful life.
Rabbi, tell us about you talk about fighters, the Maccabees, and what they did about the culture and the civilization of Israel versus the Greek traditions. Walk us through what the festival lights, what's Hanukkah, and what's the Hanukkah spirit and the Hanukkah message.
More than any other year in my lifetime, and perhaps in history, the Hanukkah story, the message of Hanukkah, has been revisited. What happened was in ancient Judea, they called Israel in those days, 2,200 years ago, they called it Judea. It was a sovereign country, but the ones that ruled the world were the Greeks. And the Greeks had different provinces where they controlled different parts of the world. It was type of a globalization, and they got together with the Syrians, so they had the Syrian-Greek hegemony. Israel fell underneath that hegemony. And they said like this, enough of this nationalism. They told the Jewish nation, no more nationalism. You're now part of a universal order coming out of Greece. We're going to have one culture. You're not going to have any distinct culture. No more nationalism, no more sovereignty, no more distinctiveness. Many of the Jews gave in. They didn't want to fight. And they had all types of excuses. Well, maybe transnationalism is good. Maybe our identity is not so important. Oh, who cares about sovereignty? We'll be protected by someone even stronger than us, the Syrian Greeks. But finally, there was a family called the Maccabees. They rose up and said, no, we're not going to relinquish our heritage, the distinctiveness, our sovereignty. We're not embarrassed by our nation, our nationalism. And they fought against odds that were greater than what we are today, fighting against, let's say, the transnationalists or the globalists or the universalists or the deep state. They fought. The problem they had was not simply the enemy without, but the enemy within. There were elites then who were bureaucrats, some even in the temple, some even that were priests. And these elites decided to partner not with their countrymen, but with the universalists.
Is that today?
The globalists, the Greek, Syrian Greeks, because they loved the glitter, the power, the money, the romance. They thought they were above and they were just better than the common people. And so they had to fight an enemy from without, but they had to fight sabotage and betrayal from an enemy, an elite, a bureaucratic elite from within who were very powerful. They finally prevailed, the Maccabees. They went right to the temple, which was the foremost institution in that country, which the elites had taken over. The ruling class had actually taken over the symbolic institution of ancient Judea, the temple. They got rid of them, and they cleaned it out, and they lit a menorah, a candelabra, hoping that it would last for a day, and it lasted 8 days. So they knew that their efforts had been blessed by God. That was a miracle. The amount of oil that should have lasted 1 day lasted 8 days. So, of course, we are living through the same ideas. There are people, a ruling elite within our country, that are collaborating with globalist transnationalists in order to denude America of its distinctiveness, its sovereignty, and they make fun of nationalism. Nationalism is a good thing when your nation is Israel or your nation is America. That's a good nationalism because we stand for something wonderful called the Judeo-Christian ethos. So it's very relevant for today. They had fewer people, the Maccabees, than we have, and we have more power. So if they can do it, I think we can do it.
Rabbi Sparrow, I tell you, just incredible. How do people get access to you? And to your
I like Bannon. Bannon's a good guy. I like this guy. He's going to be useful for us. Push Back is the name of Bannon's book. Not Bannon's book, the Rabbi's book. And it's the subtitle there is something like Restoring the Judeo-Christian, Recovering the Judeo-Christian Values, America's Judeo-Christian Spirit. And the spirit is exemplified by the importance of the solitary individual over the group, the fact that there is ultimately moral right and wrong, the fact that the right to happiness is also the right to obtaining property, and that the free enterprise system allows the poor to become a middle class by owning a car, owning a home, building equity. And this is the very stuff the globalists and the Marxists want to take away from you, the right to be able to have property, the right to have happiness through the acquisition of wealth through your own ingenuity and sacrifice. Look how they're wiping out businesses left and right, and restaurants especially. It must be something symbolic, prophetic about the ability to feed people, and the middle class is being wiped out. And it's just disgusting what's happening. You know, what bothers me most about the situation in America is look at the civics lesson we're getting since November 3rd, that we have local legislators, local state electors, local state, secretaries of state and governors who are, and we knew they were whack. The governors were dangerous when you got them like Michigan and California, when they're shutting down businesses and making you shelter in place and running around like Nazis with masks and arresting you when you're alone on a lake in a kayak and you come to shore because you weren't wearing a mask. I mean, this is freaky stuff. But so we're learning that sheep and goat nations are really sheep and goat cities and states, and that where the Christians and people that have enough common sense are able to assert their freedom. Texas and Florida, for instance, they have freedom, and the people that are in these other places are fleeing to Texas and Florida right now. So what we're looking at now is this dangerous era of time as we're moving towards January 6th. And I've always been really honest with you guys. I've always been, I wrote, I preached, we prayed in here. We've had many hours of prayer. I've even got my presidential cardboard right there. Someone gave it to me as a gift in 2016, and I just take it as a reminder to pray for the president daily. And we're in this thing, but what we're seeing is that the weakness of the infrastructure of the Republican Party, and it's the power of now what we're getting even more is God is showing us. I think it's all a giant lesson. It's almost like, where's the cancer that has to be removed? And we're looking for like, oh, we're just going to win this or win that, an easy path. But we're seeing that we have to really mold ourselves to the battle that we're in. And what we're discovering is that business, you see, the reason why the legislators are not representing us is because even though we voted them in, the money interests, the power interests are actually the business community. And the business community is what's holding their feet to the fire, so that their donors and their wealthy interest groups that get them elected, they're trying to keep them happy. And those are the globalists. Those are the guys that are tied into corporations. They're tied into the banking and the finance system that will sell out America. They want to go back to the days without Trump. And they think it's better days. What they don't know is that America will come under a very swift economic crisis if they remove that which God has provided for the protection and the blessing and prosperity of America. And what's worse is Trump. If Trump wasn't elected, we would have to say, well, this is their decision. It's kind of like Paul being a prisoner on board a ship going to Rome, and they decide that they're going to leave at the wrong time. He says, don't do it, and they do it. Well, it's one thing if the ship decides to overrule the people. It's another thing of a particularly frustrating nature if the people on board the ship all decide to stay, and one or two corrupt people, controlling the rudder and, the ballot box are saying, nope, we're going to go. In other words, I don't like the fact that Trump was elected and he's being denied his election, because that means the American people chose God. They chose patriotism. They chose his values. And they're being overruled by a corrupt elite. And the corrupt elite are so strong-willed. The two characteristics of the democratic elites under the principalities that operate in politics, in finance, academia, and in media are self-will and rebelliousness. Now, the rebellion puts them under a spirit of witchcraft, which is antagonism to God. Witchcraft is a controlling spirit. It wants to control your life. But the self-will means that there's no appeal to reason. There's no appeal to conscience, which is particularly annoying when they're saying that we are a bottomless pit of nuttiness because the election results should be accepted. They've never been refuted. Remember, Russia. They never repented. Now we know that Hillary Clinton paid for the Russia thing. And we know that. Nobody cares. They could care less because there's no intellectual honesty. And when you don't have intellectual honesty, let's face it, you have intellectual stupidity. When you don't have intellectual honesty on the fact that the earth is round and not flat, you actually have the reverse. They claim to be scientific and enlightened, but in fact they are stupid. And they're stupid because they're like the priesthood that doesn't want to allow Galileo to say that your orthodoxy, your political correctness has to change with the Catholic Church. The earth is a sphere. It's not exactly a flat dimension. But these people, they want to believe the earth is flat in their own world. They want to believe that racism is what built America. They want to believe that socialism is what prospers you. They want to believe that if you're a man, you could be a woman. They want to believe that your children should all be giving up their religious rights to be educated by a new system. And you see, in all of these belief systems, cultural Marxism compounded with bad economics, plus spending. Now you're 30 trillion. Why don't they just give everybody $1 million and make everyone happy? Well, because economic physics doesn't allow you to create money by fiat. You actually have to have something behind it. Well, how the heck are they doing this right now? You realize that every American that's getting the $600 they decide to give plus the $2,000, well, only 50% of Americans pay taxes. So guess what that 50% of Americans pay taxes have to do? Even when they're being locked down and shut down and their businesses are destroyed, 50% of Americans are going to have to pay $20,000 so that everybody can get $600. Figure that arithmetic out. Only a socialist could do that one. $20,000 for every taxpayer in order to get $600. Where do you think the money's coming from? Everybody's happy. Hey, Washington's giving us checks. Where do you think it's coming from? They're coming back to you. These people they're idiotic. They don't even know what they're doing. And what's bad is you're in the back seat watching the front seat driver keep on drinking liquor out of the bottle, whiskey straight up, and he's driving the car and he's increasing the speed. But I don't blame you for being concerned. That's why the Hanukkah story is so important. Remember what Hanukkah was, the supernatural oil of God. It's a rare, purified oil that was in the temple. They only had 1 day's supply, but the Lord extended it for 8 days. And I believe what the Lord's doing is going to increase the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. The church has not been the candlestick for this nation, let's face it. We've been praying nervously, we're prophesying this, or we're holding on for Trump and for that. But I'm telling you, as we're moving towards that January 6th date, what we have to now see is we have to see decisive influence coming in. This is you. This is me. We've got to contact, and we have to let the legislators, the governors, we have to speak the only language they understand. You see, they don't speak in tongues, they speak in money, and they speak in power. And they just think we're just some weird group out there. They recognize they got elected, but they don't know how strong and solid and oh my God, we are now an intelligent, mobilized community. There's probably about 70 million of us, and I think there's probably about 45 million of them. 40 million of them are actually people of faith, pro-life Catholics, evangelicals, Pentecostals, etc. And here's what we're going to communicate to them. You're not going to have a political future. Your future is over. You have to contact the legislators. I'll get you numbers. You don't have to call their homes like the left does. They harass you at your house like Tucker Carlson. They're in your driveway. All we got to do is call their public numbers, call their offices, and we let them know. These are the governors, the congressmen, the senators, and the legislators. And we let them know that we have a memory. 19 or 20 of those senators are up for re-election in 2022. all of Congress is going to be up for re-election. You either stand with the populist that is saying that we want legal votes, every legal vote counted, and since we now know there's only a 20,000 vote difference up in Michigan, and we've already proven that there's 200,000 fake votes that came in simply off of those that should not have voted because, so listen to this. I don't want to get into a longer broadcast than I need right now, but you need to get this. Milwaukee and Dane County, the voters were urged by the Democrats to declare themselves indefinitely confined. Well, the courts have overruled the indefinite confinement being for COVID or any other reason. The only way you could be indefinitely confined in Wisconsin is if you were a shut-in with long-term illness and couldn't even get to the Department of Motor Vehicles. There was 70,000 of those in 2016. The Democrats saw Trump took Wisconsin before. They wouldn't let it happen again. So they expanded that to 200,000 that didn't need IDs in order to vote, and that was overruled. So right now, Wisconsin has 200,000, catch this, indefinitely confined votes. Last election, they had 70,000. Basically, they got about 100,000 fake indefinitely confined voters that didn't have to provide ID in order to defeat Trump, and those votes have been cast out. So, Vice President Pence, you cannot certify Wisconsin. That doesn't necessarily solve all our problems, but certification for Wisconsin is impossible. They can't be. And that 20,000 vote margin is wiped out by their 200,000 votes that they did. Give them 100,000 of them. There's still 100,000 fake ones in there, unqualified ones that can't be certified. And they're not letting us. Now the problem with Republicans is they're slow as tortoises till you start putting the pressure on them. The moment we started calling them, the moment we started showing up, all of a sudden, oh boy, they're bouncing all over the walls now because they realize they don't have a political future. You're done. You're done in politics. Collect all the business cards you can find this week because as far as we're concerned, there's a populist revolt going to happen, a populist backlash. No matter what happens with Donald Trump, the populist backlash is the most important thing happening in the next 24 months. Kaboom! It's going to hit in both directions. The gutless Republicans and all of those Democrats that barely won. Their party's going to make so much misery if they're in power that we're going to take a swipe out of the Democratic Party. Just the thought of that is enough to put the fear of God on the Republicans. That's Trump's best chance because it's like, oh boy, we got to stand with the populists. There's 70 million of them, and they actually are thinking they got to. That's why I don't like the fact that they're overruling Trump right now. They're trying to overrule Trump right now. Let them know they're not going to overrule Trump right now. Whether it's whether it's the COVID bill or whether it's going to be the defense spending. These people just love to spend money. Money that comes out of what? Some kind of a magic vault they've got? Georgia has 12,000 votes. 12,000, that's all the more. We got it down to 12,000. Do you think we got illegal votes in there? I guarantee you we got 12,000 illegal votes in Georgia. Hey, man, we got the videotape. It's like the Zapruder film of Kennedy's assassination. We got him saying, good night, goodbye, everybody leave. Boom, then bring out the ballots, bring them out, run them through, get them out of the suitcase over there, quick, get them over here. What are they going to do with that? The point is, they're not willing to see the evidence. They're not willing to have the session necessary. The courts have not looked at any of this. You know how the Democrats work? The Democrats lie about something, then the media says they're absolutely right. And then the Democrats say, according to the media, we're absolutely right. So the Democrats say, oh, well, you're all an infinite bottomless pit of nuts with this election fraud. Except we have evidence of election fraud. We got 200,000 ballots that came in from upstate New York down to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. They got to get them to Philadelphia. The guy comes down. He says, when am I getting paid? They wouldn't pay him. He comes back the next day. The whole rig is gone. 200,000 ballots. Has anybody investigated it? No. The only thing they investigate was the driver. Who are you working for? What's your angle? This is how corrupt our government is. It's a corrupt Department of Justice. It's a corrupt National Security. We know this now. And this is the beauty of it. We know it, and we're not going away because we pay a price for them to be in charge because they're rebellious and lawless, and they make bad decisions. And they're going to make bad decisions with your life, your freedom, your money, and your children. So where are we at? We have the Georgia 12,000 illegal votes you can't certify because you got. And by the way, the Kemp, who is the governor there, he has presidential aspirations. Call Governor Kemp. Tell him get on the way, get righteous fast with those electors. In other words, those Biden electors can't be certified. You better be fighting for the voters. And they got the election coming up in Georgia. I agree with Peter Navarro. They should move it up to February because they got the same Stacey Abrams voting, the same Dominion voting machines. What the heck do you think they're going to do? Democrats are going to. They're not even worried about stealing. They steal in broad daylight. They steal right in front of you. They had 4,000 disqualified votes. They wanted to take out right now one of the counties in Florida and in Georgia today. A judge overturned it. The judge overturned it. Well, who's the judge? Stacey Abrams' sister is the judge. Can't make this up. Stacey Abrams' sister is a judge? Don't you think she should recuse herself from a decision regarding the qualification of ballots? No, she didn't. She just over. So Georgia is out. Wisconsin is out. Maricopa County has 50 machines they're supposed to be looking at forensically and analyzing, but they can't get a hold of them. Why? Because the Democrats refuse to let you look at them. Why? Well, they're saying, well, give me a lawyer's excuse. What's a lawyer's excuse? Some lawyer, okay, a lawyer gives an excuse. You're looking at people's personal data. The personal data. You can't look at the personal voting data. And so they're making that righteous condition. The truth of the matter is they're jumping on the football. They're looking at the clock. They're trying to run the clock. They don't want anyone looking at those 50 machines. Why don't they just let people look at all the machines? I think if I was Biden, I'd say, look at every machine you want. Let's go. We want to look at them too. And so, but they won't. They're trying to hide something. Anytime you're guilty, you hide something. When somebody won't open the door, you knock on the door. What's going on in there? Oh, hold on a minute. What's going on? Hold on just a minute. Hold on. You hear the toilet flushing. Oh, hold on a minute. The back door's opening. They're running out. It's the Democrats. Hold on a minute. Let me tell you something. They are the bottomless pit of nuttiness, not us. Anyway, that rabbi has a book called Pushback. We're all going to get it. And I want you to know that you can't certify. Vice President Pence, I know that this is unorthodox. I know that on the 6th you're thinking that you've got to preserve the dignity of the institution. That's what McConnell thinks. Listen, those guys are all nut jobs. You know, I believe you're a Christian Vice President. You know this for a fact. By the way, share this. You share this. You never know. These Vice President might actually see this. The truth of the matter is you can't in all good conscience. You can't certify Wisconsin when you know you've got 200,000 of these no ID votes that were done for this ridiculous indefinitely confined category when there was only 70,000 last time. You know that there's over 20,000 fraudulent votes in all of Wisconsin. You know that Milwaukee and Michigan, Milwaukee with, my God, we have evidence right there of corruption. But let's stop there. Let's just take a look at Pennsylvania, where you got the ballots coming in from New York, and nobody can find the truck or the ballots. What's the story with that? No answer. And not to mention, they put 200,000 votes in after Justice Alito said stop on the 3rd. They continued the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and they got testimony of post office backdating to get it before the 3rd. You got to put Pennsylvania in the column of we can't know. We don't know. You guys are going to have to go back and look at the evidence. And then we have Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin. I think you're going to find and as Arizona. Guess what? Biden's under his 270 electors. Now that's if you guys put the pressure on the legislators and the Republicans. That's if Vice President Pence is the Christian we believe he is. We hope he is. Remember that he's talking to these young people. I was with my daughter last week. We want every illegal vote to count. Every legal vote. In other words, if they're illegal, you're not going to count them. Well, you can't count them, Mr. Vice President, in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Georgia and Arizona. I'm leaving out Michigan for the moment in Nevada, even though a case could be made. All right, so you folks, I want you to share this, and share this because the light is in the menorah. God's going to give us that supernatural light, and we're going to have, one way or the other, whatever track this nation takes, we're going to have to be the populist revolt. We're going to have to push back because these people don't have the ability to negotiate reality. They don't have the ability to be nice. They don't have the ability to have self-control. They've got some kind of a brain fever going on, and they think that you're wrong, and they think that the election was won. Hey, did you hear this? So I'm going to say this one more thing. This is crazy. So the most popular man in America. This is a survey. Thank God it wasn't done with Dominion software. So the survey's done. Guess who the most popular man in America is? Donald Trump. It was Barack Obama for like 4 or 5 years in a row. Suddenly Donald Trump pops up. He beats him by a couple of digit points. I mean, significant enough, like 3 or 4 points. Donald Trump's the most popular man in America. Most popular, admired man in America. Not Obama. Guess what? Obama's like 12 points, 13. Donald Trump's 15, 16 points. Biden, around 4 or 5 points. What does it tell you? He's in the single digits Obama is like, how is it that Biden, who's in the single digits, got more votes than Donald Trump and more votes than Barack Obama? How could he beat Barack Obama and Donald Trump when he can't even become the most popular? He can't even get in double digits. He's in single digits. I wouldn't be disrespectful. They said a single digit midget, but that's not a polite thing to say because that's not politically correct. I'm just going to say single digits. How is it that he became the most popular guy on November 3rd, but suddenly you come back around, and by the time you get to New Year's, he's not so popular. He's 1/3 as popular as he was before. I'm telling you something. If he's under siege, if this guy gets indicted because of Hunter Biden, nobody's going to defend him. Why do you think they're not having an inauguration? They should have it indoors. They should have the inauguration at least in a kitchen somewhere. They're not sure they could fill the kitchen. They're nervous about, can you get people in the kitchen? Not for Biden, maybe not. So what are they going to do? They're going to invite Barack Obama. They'll come for Obama. Then they'll slip Biden out there for the inauguration. That's what their plan is. But I'm telling you, they're not going to have it outdoors because they don't know anybody's going to show up. Why? Because even the Democrats are honest enough to know, hey, it's not that exciting. Nobody's going to show up. You get what I'm saying? The whole thing's a fraud, and they know it. If they think about it, they know it. They are the bottomless pit of nuttery. They're the absolute flupper nutter. They're the great nuts of nuts. All right, well, that's as far as I'm going to go before I get in trouble. I'm trying to stay on the platform. By the way, if I don't show up and you don't see me anymore on the social media, it's because you didn't go to LanceWallnau.com, WALLNAU.com/news. You got to go there so that I can stay in touch with you, because someday I'm going to say the wrong thing, kaboom, I'm not going to be here. And then it's going to be, what happened to Lance? Hey, was he a nice guy, wasn't he? Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I'm still talking. It's just I'm not talking on this channel. So if you're on YouTube, you want to go like and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, I'd like you to like me for a change. You got to like me. I've got 500,000 followers and 400,000 people like me. Is it 100,000 people watching me that don't like me? I'm trying to figure that out. Or is it 100,000 people that are watching, but they didn't bother to like? But you see, if you like it, then I at least feel like I'm liked. I got nothing else. I'm not making any money out of this, All right. I'll talk to you later. Share this with your friends and be encouraged, because it ain't over yet. I'm looking for the fat lady. She's supposed to sing. I don't know any fat ladies. So far we're in good shape. She hasn't sung yet, so we still got a fighting chance. And I'll see you in Washington on the 6th. I think I'm going to be there. I don't know where I'm going, but I'll be there. I'll be speaking someplace. I don't have any idea where it is yet. Maybe it'll be at Joe Biden's kitchen. We'll find out. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, would you let me know? Just click like over here. And if you want to be notified about future broadcasts, then just click subscribe.